Welcome back to the Creative Liberty Podcast. I'm your host, Major Chisholm, and in the studio with me today is my friend Patrick Richardson. He is a visual artist. Welcome, Patrick.
Hey, Major. How you doing?
Doing
Thanks for having
fantastic. You're welcome. Thanks. These are the kind of the quarantine chronicles, since you're not actually here in the studio with me. So it's kind of what I'm calling this whole segment. Stupid name that I came up with on one of the podcasts. So I wish you could be here at my kitchen table talking to me, but you're not.
Well, that'll be round two, I suppose.
Yes. God, you're a good friend, and we have lots to talk about, so I'm sure we can find something else to talk about. Or just round two of being what a visual artist is.
As soon as they let us out.
Right, exactly. As soon as they let us out, I'm going to give you a big bear hug. So you are a visual artist, but I want to hear kind of your backstory first, about you being a creative. So take it away.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've always been into drawing and everything since I was little. Pretty much I drew before I could write. I don't even remember when I started. I just know that's what I did when I was little. And so I grew up drawing all the time, mostly dinosaurs and whatnot, but that was kind of what I was into at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, I just kind of grew up doing that. I moved around a little bit in middle school. So around that time, I didn't know anybody when I lived in Pennsylvania. So I drew a lot. I would just sit home and draw, and just got really good at it. Fast forward to, high school, and took all the art classes. And throughout this time, people would recognize it and, tell me that I was good at it. So I would just kind of pursue it just because people kept telling me that's what I was good at. In class, I would draw when I wasn't supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
And that's just what I did. So I just always knew that's what I was going to do. Went to college at Grand Valley State University for illustration. When I got there, I was really interested in design, or I found out I was, but and I thought about double majoring, but I was kind of told it was an insane amount of work, so I just kept down the road of illustration. But I took design classes and learned design. And then, graduated, did not know what to do with an illustration degree. Well, technically my degree is in the fine arts degree, Bachelor of Fine Arts. So it just seemed like money, if I wanted a job, would be graphic design. So got a job in graphic design. It took a while. I detoured for a little while. I worked for a foster care agency, oddly enough, for 2 years in Detroit. That was right after college. And that was kind of a little detour because at the time I didn't know what to do. Probably like most college students that graduate. And two, what do you do with a degree where you draw? Basically my plan was to be a freelance illustrator. That was harder than I realized. So, just kind of weird turns and circumstances. I ended up in Colorado. And then finally, after about, 9 months, I got a job doing graphic design. And I love design, so I just kind of stuck with it, been doing it ever since. So here I am.
Nice. What were you doing right before you came to Colorado? Was that the foster care thing?
Yeah, that's when I worked in foster care in Detroit. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
I did different things. I worked in the foster care part, but I also worked for the juvenile justice part. Like I was split in 3 different jobs.
Wow.
So I worked with kids that were just let out of juvie. I worked with foster care kids, and then I worked with foster care kids, like kind of a big brother kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that as well. So it's 3 different roles. And I was always kind of transitioning into a new role, but then still fulfilling part of an old role.
Gotcha. Okay. And currently your job, the one you go to work for,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you do at that company?
So my title is a brand advisor. Um, the company is agricultural. So we have agencies. It's a billion-dollar company. It's all over the world. It's the largest agriculture company for crop inputs, for any kind of crop input. So it's big. So we have agencies that do a lot of the brunt work, but we in-house do a lot of branding and kind of those decisions. And then I don't know, it kind of gets shifts around between agencies and us as far as what's on our plates. But we handle a lot of stuff. My department does marketing, so I do a lot of logo designs for products. I do ads for products. I do ads for the company. I do social media. I do some motion graphics occasionally. I do trade show layouts and designs. I don't know. You name it, I do it.
Okay. I want to come back to some of that in a little bit. Now, sorry, I'm making notes. So, but your personal work. So that's kind of what you do. That's actually what you do on the side, right? To make a living. Your personal work, though, is probably what you're more passionate about. And let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I kind of dabble a lot in a lot of things. That's because I just like to create. Right. So I do some screen printing. I used to bind books, but I kind of got out of that because I was trying to refocus my my time and my passions, Mm-hmm. And I kind of got into that I'll sidetrack here for a sec. I got into book binding in college because I kept buying these sketchbooks. They were really expensive, and I was like, I could probably make one. So I looked it up and I figured out how to do it, and I started making books, and it just kind of became fun. So yeah, then people started buying them from me. I started selling them and just kept doing it. And then one day I was like, what am I doing? I need to stop. So I stopped doing that. But it's a good skill to have. So I did script printing, illustration work. That's kind of just cropped up lately again, probably in the past, I don't know, 4 years. I've been drawing a lot. There was a time after college where I did not draw for probably, I don't know, 8 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't draw a thing, not a single thing, because in college it was like boot camp, and I kind of lost the drive and the passion for it. Right. I kind of got sick of it.
Mm-hmm. It's a love-hate relationship sometimes.
Yeah, and I didn't know what inspired me, and not necessarily like the subject matter, because I knew the subject matter. I knew what the subject matter was that I liked, but I didn't know like what the style was I liked, mm-hmm. And I didn't know what it was me. So yeah, more probably in the past few years, I really kind of focused on that, and I started pushing myself, challenging myself to try to get freelance and illustration, because that's what I went to school for. And I was like, you know what, why don't I try this? So I started doing that and started getting some cool jobs. So the illustration specifically I do is like outdoorsy national park stuff. And yeah, I got connected to Parks Project, and they're out of California. And I did a lot of work for them last year. All the freelance I was mostly doing last year was for them. That ended, but occasionally they email me for something. So because I was on like a contract long term for them, but mm-hmm. now it's kind of just project by project. But it was good because it was a lot of intense work for a lot, but it was really good because I built this portfolio with illustrations and a style that I really always wanted to have. Then that ended, and I was actually kind of relieved because I was like, well, now I can just make stuff. And so right now I'm just kind of playing around with it and seeing what comes up next. And yeah.
Nice. And if people wanted to see your work, where can they go to see your work?
Well, my main website's January Began. It's like the month, and began.com, and that is my main website. So in this, and I forgot to mention this, so like in this time on the side, I was doing lots of markets. And so I decided, probably about a year and a half ago, I decided to branch out and kind of establish a business. And so that business I established was called Tiny Shed Shop, because I have a tiny shed in my backyard, and that's kind of where I wanted to, where I was doing screen printing out there, and that's where all my screen printing stuff is now. So I thought it was funny or something. So yeah, I also have tinyshedshop.com, which is just actually to my Etsy. But I have both of those handles. Tiny Shed Shop is Instagram, and then January Began is my Instagram. January Began is illustration, my family, my life. Tiny Shed Shop is all just like stickers and things I design, patches and shirts and hats, and that's kind of like my goods website.
Okay.
Instagram anyway. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll put all that in our show notes for our listeners. And what out of, and we know each other, so I've seen a lot of what you do. Patrick also does these amazing drawings of mountains and other things out of graphite pencil.
Yeah, it's pencil.
And but if you had to pick designing like logos and things like that, sitting down and doing this, 3 foot by 2 foot pencil drawing of the Rocky Mountains, what's your favorite thing to just kind of get lost in, to dive into? And
it would not be the 3 by 4 foot drawing of the mountains. As you know, I only produced about, I guess, maybe 7 or 8 of those, and that was a long time. Man, that was like when I first moved to Colorado, I did those. I've done a couple since, but not really my passion to do that. Man, it's a really hard question. I don't know. I love design, but it's like a blurry line. It's like design and illustration are kind of similar and hand in hand, and it's like, where does one begin and one end?
Right.
Nowadays, especially. Yeah, I'm still passionate about drawing. I think that's come back a lot more. I love designing, but designing can be tedious and not terribly interesting, especially if it's like a print ad or like a brochure or a billboard. The stuff I really like is kind of more ambiguous, like logos or, as far as design goes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm super impressed with your logos. I mean, I was looking through your Instagram the other day, and some of the little 4 square things that you're posting with the 4 different little logos in them.
Oh yeah,
are amazing. And I don't know if you saw it or not. I shot you a comment and said, "Hey, you should think about doing a Creative Liberty logo." No response. I took that as a no. So like, I'm not going to waste my time.
No,
you're petty.
No, I'm bad at responding to texts.
You don't say. It's only taken us about a month to get him on the show.
Yeah, well, I'm
busy.
Well, I think it's especially since this lockdown occurred, like there's this weird blur. Before I went to my job, and I'd drive there and be there, and you'd leave there,
right? And
the job generally left when you left,
right?
But now it's like my computer's right there. People are texting me. People are like, "I need this thing." So it's like there's this like hard line of where work ended and began has kind of ended. It's like not there anymore, and it's kind of invaded my life, and made me busy.
Yeah, It's kind of blurred a lot of our work life balance lines a little bit here as well.
Yeah.
After we come back from our break, I have some other questions for you, and we'll wrap up with those. So be right back after our break, guys. And we're back with Patrick Richardson. Patrick, question for you.
Yeah.
Earlier you talked about you kind of walked us through the process of kind of when you went to school, the degree you got and stuff like that. When you got out, you were kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do, blah, blah, I got this degree. What advice would you give? Because you're working in the field you went to school in, okay? A lot of artists can or cannot say that, and there's always the joke, about that. But I teach kids graphic design. And I think this would be I think you can speak to that in that, you're talking about doing trade shows and design work and stuff like that. What would you say to students who are out there? And I've got some students who've graduated who actually have gone into graphic design. And I know those jobs are out there, but again, the joke is those who can't teach and those who can't teach PE. But anyway, I forget what movie that was on.
Whoa.
That was on, it was the Jack Black School of Rock movie, but it was pretty funny. Those who can't teach and those who can't teach PE. So anyway, no, but the struggling artist gets out of school. The jokes about, why'd you get a liberal arts degree? All that stuff. But you've got a degree in fine arts, graphic design, and you're doing that. What advice would you give to students or a teacher who teaches these students? What ringer should I put them through to get them for the real world so that they can go, I'm really glad my instructor taught me this. So it may not be for the kids, it may be actually for me. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, sorry. My throat's dry. There's a lot of advice, but one thing I wish I knew from college was what to do or what possibilities there were with what I had, or what I was getting.
Right.
I didn't know. I had no idea what to do. And, I suppose there are counselors and career counselors, all that, but I don't even think they would know, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like you need someone that has done it or does it to kind of explain that, especially with the illustration part of it. It was kind of, I had a professor in my illustration professor throughout college, and he had some rule. He had funny rules for us. I can't remember them all. I just remember one of them, but he said one of his rules for being an illustrator was do not marry a teacher because they don't have money and neither are you. You're not going to have money either. And I married a teacher. But yeah, that was a rule he had, and he would tell it to us often. And I can't remember his other rules, but that was one that obviously I do remember. But yeah, it's hard. There's, you're definitely going to doubt yourself. And I think even being clear with what you want to do, I would, research what you want to do. I knew graphic design existed, but I didn't really know what it entailed.
Right.
Sorry, my phone looks like it's pretty low. That's all right. I'm going to hit OK and see what happens. Yeah, just knowing what exists, like there's graphic design. But I would, if you're going to do graphic design, I would add, adding something to it, whether it be like getting a minor in business or marketing, because those kind of skills are really what help you succeed as a graphic designer. If you're just going to be a graphic designer and freelance, or, there are definitely successful freelance graphic designers, but they are like the top of the field. They are the best. And they know it and everyone else knows it and they can charge what they want and they get it. But if you're just, a mediocre to talented to whatever, it's going to be a struggle. And I think, yeah, definitely adding something to your degree is beneficial. I mean, I have a benefit because I have an illustration degree.
Mm-hmm.
So like that helps add to my, toolbox, if you will.
Right.
So I know how to do more things. Yeah, I would, research, know what we want to do, and then add something in your degree to, really complement that, getting that degree.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So.
Definitely pass that on to my students, and actually I'll have them listen to this podcast for,
Oh, yeah.
for some extra credit. As a creative, as a designer, where do you go now for inspiration? Like, how do you keep up on things, and what's that process look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's throughout the years I've stumbled upon many websites. Currently, my favorite is called Dribble. It's a website purely for design, and there's some illustration and some other stuff on there, but it's a design website focused. It's invite only, so you have to be invited to have a curated portfolio. It took me, I don't know, probably 3 years maybe to get invited. And yeah, I go there. There's Instagram. There's designers, the ones I was talking about, the very talented ones. There's designers I follow on Instagram that I go through my feed and look at what they're doing. Then there's Logo Lounge, which is like the premier logo book showcase for design for logos. And I actually that's what you saw on my Instagram. They have a deadline. May 1st is, I am all those logos I'm putting in this competition, and man, I can't remember. It's like hundreds of thousands of submissions, and anyway, I'm trying to get in the next book, but we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Logo Lounge, Dribble, Instagram. Those are like my main, I would say.
Okay. What would be your dream job?
Oh, that answer's changed a lot. It bounced around. My dream job is one that I can provide for my family, but also find a purpose in it, because I need to have a purpose in something I do. So if I can meet those, that's, my dream job. But if there was if I could just say what I wanted to do, I would love, my goal is to be a creative director someday. Obviously I have to kind of get there. And that would be, from being the lead designer to being a creative manager of some sort to being creative director. But that's my goal. And if it was going to be anywhere, I mean, I really like where I'm at right now. But if there was going to be anywhere, if I'm just saying where I want to do, it'd probably be somewhere like outdoorsy, like a North Face or a Marmot or something like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do you know where Marmot's located?
I'm assuming they're in Colorado, but they could be in California.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, most of the outdoor companies are Seattle, California, and Colorado.
That's true. Yeah.
So a lot of them are in California. And when you go, if you look online at salaries for graphic designers in California, they're huge, but
you gotta live in
relatively speaking, they're not that big, because the cost of living is very, very high.
Yep.
And same thing with Portland and places like that. People got to keep that into consideration.
Yep. So you mentioned your wife is a teacher. She is also an art teacher, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
K through 5.
K through 5. Does your son, do y'all ever sit down and draw and do stuff?
Oh yeah, he loves to draw. Chalk, markers, crayons, pens, pencils. He loves to draw. He's been doing a lot lately, but unfortunately, I can't usually sit down and draw with him during the day because I'm working. He's having a hard time comprehending that I'm home and not able to do anything. So, but during the weekend and stuff, if I have something I have to draw, and by have to, I mean want to, I'll sit down and draw with him, and he'll draw something. So he's getting actually pretty good. He's drawing like people and faces and animals. He likes to draw deer and horses and stuff because he's obsessed with animals. So.
Nice. And for our audience's sake, how old is your son?
He will be 4 on Friday, actually.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Can't believe it.
Any other questions or any other comments you would like to say? Snide remarks. I don't know. We can talk about.
I have lots of snide remarks. If you're gonna pursue this career or any kind of creative career, there's a couple of things you have to realize is you have to be okay with failure. It took me a long time to learn that lesson because, say for instance, you have to design a logo for anything, right? Your client's probably going to request, 5 comps or something, and that's probably being modest. I've seen people have like sheets of comps, like 20 comps, and honestly, at my job, I can easily come up with 20 comps for something, and you could show them, and you could have like the best idea that you think, right? And they could turn them all down, right? Or or they like one of them, but it's the one you hate, or something, and then you take it, and then you got to make 5 more comps based on that comp, right? So at the end of the day, to finally get a design, you could have made like 50 things. And if you think about that, that means, you've failed. You've been rejected. Those other 49 are rejection.
Right.
You've been rejected 49 times.
Yep.
To get one yes, you've had 49 no's. So, and that's the same thing with jobs. I mean, and I think that's advice for anybody. I mean, it's just not creativity, right? It's like having that drive to keep going. And yeah, I mean, obviously you have bad days and you're going to be like, oh, woe is me and whatever, but you got to still pick it up and say, okay, this is what I want. And for me, I mean, there was definitely times like that. I mean, that's why I was a social worker for 2 years, right? Because like I didn't know, I just gave up. I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I'll do, right? Who actually does what they went to school for? But at the end of the day, when I started looking at my options, that's what I knew more than everything else, right? Like I had dedicated my life up until that point to do that thing. And why would I stop?
Right.
And plus I like it. I mean, I'm really nerdy about fonts and color combinations. I'll look at fonts. I'm like, oh, that's a nice font. I have probably like 10,000 fonts on my computer. It's always a joke. It's like, designers always have like 10,000 fonts and then they use like 100 of them, right? That's kind of true. But you got to definitely love it. I collect magazine covers and I cut ads out of magazines, and I have like folders and I keep all that crap at my job, but it's at my work, and I have all this stuff I just keep and collect, and things and knickknacks and that I really like the design of, and I shun bad design all the time. I'm very judgmental about bad design, but yeah, the passion's got to be there. You got to stick to it. Um, and you kind of figure out if, it's what you want to do, right? If I didn't really want to do this, I'd have given up. But,
Right.
and I've encountered bad things. My first design job, I was laid off, and I was not happy about it. There's a lot of politics in, corporate world, but there's a lot of politics in jobs, and gotta learn to deal with that. You gotta ego. That's another thing. You gotta put your ego aside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very confident designer. I know when something I make is bad. I know when something somebody else makes is bad. I know when something is good. And when someone tells me that the bad thing is the thing they want to do and the good thing is the thing they don't want to do, it drives me nuts. But I gotta let it go, because at the end of the day, it's kind of these like little win one lose ones, right? And honestly, that makes like winning it even better is when you can have a project, at work that you're like, oh, this is gonna be a great project, and you just knock it out of the park, and everybody loves it, and you're like, yeah, it's like a little win,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, yeah, and yeah, just stick to it and see what you're passionate about, and I mean, even passion, honestly, people always say do what you're passionate about, and I that for me has changed over the years. Sometimes a job is a job. It's nice when you like it, but you won't always like it.
Right.
You're not always going to wake up and be excited to go to work.
Right.
Unless you're like, I don't know. I have no ideas of it. Somebody that's got a good job. Unless you work for like Lego or something.
Right.
But yeah, everybody's got days where they don't want to work, and there are days I don't want to work. There are days I love and can't wait for work.
Yeah.
There's days that I have something in my mind that I've been thinking about, and I'm like, this is going to be a great solution. And I can't wait to put it down. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think my passion is for my family. And though I love what I do, if that ended, I could go find something else to do to make money because I'm going to come home to my family. I'm going to be, I want to provide for them, and I want to love them well. So, I think that's kind of one of the things I'm passionate about. Now I love painting, and I love doing what I do in the studio as well. But even if that came to an end, I'd still have my family, and you actually, I was gonna say, you actually helped me with one of my series, showed me how to screen print some Hiram Revel faces onto some of my paintings. And so thank you very much. I need to get squeegee back to you.
Oh, I forgot you had it. I honestly have not screen printed, since that screen print, honestly.
Okay.
That's my last time I screen printed. But I have one that I've been sitting on. I've been wanting to pull, but I just haven't had time, to be honest. I mean, I feel like I have so many creative things, let me backtrack real quick. When I graduated, I had no idea what to do.
Uh-huh.
I had no ideas. I had no inspiration. I had no path. Now I have so much that I don't have time to like do all of them. I have like a folder on my computer of like half-baked ideas that I have, and it's not just drawing or art. There's like short stories that I've been wanting to write, and I'm like, there's a children's book idea I really want to do. I have so many ideas of things I would like to do. I don't have time. But yeah, even that, time management, that's another tip for creatives. You gotta know how to manage your time and be, organized.
and intentional. Yeah. You gotta be intentional with your time.
Yeah. My, that's, I guess, not to go too off path here, but even this virus, I feel like that's kind of like one of the good parts about it is I feel like there's like more time
Oh yeah.
to do stuff. I feel like it took people out of their social requirements a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of it. So I feel like now I can just be like, well, I'm just gonna do this, and things you wanted to do, you can do.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe I'll write a book right now. Let's see.
Yeah. It's not from a lack of time now. Granted, we say that, and I mentioned it in one of my other podcasts. If you're a work at home dad now and your wife's a work at home mom, and you're both working at home and taking care of kids, you don't necessarily have all that time. But that everybody says, oh, well, we all have the downtime now. But I do think that through this process of us working from home and being with our families, that once all this is lifted, I think some people are going to kind of miss this downtime and being with their families. There's going to be some that aren't going to miss it. They're going to rush straight back into their job and social media and being as busy as possible. But
yeah.
But I think there will be a good portion of the people that'll be like, it was kind of sweet. It was kind of nice. We were able to just kind of reconnect with our families and be creative or, do things. And so, yeah.
Yeah, we're all kind of being forced hermits. And I saw this funny thing the other day that said, before this outbreak, I was always kind of a stay-at-home hermit. And then it was like, but occasionally I did like to go to a few places. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a lot of funny memes and stuff. Like, oh, you mean I get to stay at home and not see anybody? It's like every artist everywhere.
Right.
Oh, what? Nothing's changing. That's kind of the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Let's see. I had another thought, but I kind of lost it. Finding passionate projects, and kind of what you were saying is, you're passionate about your family, and I would agree to that. If I was not a designer, I wouldn't lose hope. Because I can still design. I don't need to get paid to do it.
Right.
I would do a lot of things for money. I had a friend that almost joined the oil field. One of my coworkers, another designer, we were kind of at a bad spot, and he was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to join the oil field. There's money there. I'm like, hey, man, I just saw this job the other day. You should apply for it. I think you'd be good at it. And the funny thing was, he did apply, and he did get the job, and now he still works there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I remind him of it. I'm like, dude, hey, remember when I told you to apply for this job?
Mm-hmm.
You did? Got it? So, there's definitely those times when you're going to have bad clients, whether it be where you work, your 9 to 5, or whether it be on the side, you're going to have bad clients, and you just got to learn how to deal with it. Having good artist community too helps, reading what others have dealt with, finding other designers who have like waded the waters, finding people that are inspiring. There's a lot of books out there, a lot of, well-weathered designers who have a career worth of insight and value that help. And reading that stuff is just like, oh yeah. Or even on Instagram, there's lots of designers out there that will post stuff, how to deal with bad clients or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helpful. It's nice to see other people deal with it too. But.
Yeah, even the top of the top have to deal with stuff like that.
Yeah, people that you're like, how could anyone say no to you? One of my favorite designers, actually wrote a paper on him in my graphic design class, actually in college, was Chip Kidd. He is hilarious, first of all. but I've seen him speak in person. He's great. He's a great public speaker. He should be a comedian, honestly, but he is well known for his book covers. You would know him, Major. He did
Okay.
the Jurassic Park book cover.
Okay. Yeah.
Picture it, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so he's super famous. They're like in the world of book cover design, Chip Kidd is the top. He is the king. Anyway, he's got, just go on YouTube and look up Chip Kidd and listen to his talks. First of all, they're fascinating to listen to. But also just, he's got a lot of good insight and how to deal with stuff. And when you hear his clients, stories from his clients, it's funny. I mean, it's finding stuff like that. YouTube is a good resource as well. So.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, any last insights? Food for thought? I don't want to keep you. You have to work tomorrow. I have a video shoot from 10
what are you doing?
10 to 2, filming some teachers read through the Little Prince, or actually give their insight into the Little Prince, and we're posting it to our Google Classrooms for our students to read. So
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk forever about a lot of things, but I mean that's kind of the basis, I would say. I mean,
well, I like
from my perspective.
I like it when my guests can talk forever. That means I don't have to. So
sure, we could talk forever. Maybe next time we should talk forever.
Yeah, I can just hit record and
start earlier.
Start earlier and hit record, and let's just put up a mega podcast, a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah. Wait. I heard that 2 ways. A mega podcast or a mega podcast?
Oh, mega. MEGA.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. But I just want to double check.
Hey, give us your website one more time and tell us what we can find when we go to the socials and your website. Yeah,
so JanuaryBegan.com, and that's my illustration. I got a lot of stuff on there. I could probably just clean up, but illustration, logos, things like that. My Instagram is January Began. It's all illustration, logos, but also my personal life. And then if you want just like my products and stuff, that's tinyshedshop.com and or Instagram.
Okay. And you can be hired out to do logos for people, correct?
Contact. Be hired out for a lot of things. Illustrate anything. I mean, illustration, design, logos.
Illustration, hired assassin.
Yeah. You didn't ask me the most important question, which is, how much should you charge for a logo?
Yes. How much do you charge, or should you charge for a logo?
Well, do you want another 20 minutes? I'm just kidding.
You're the one with kids, not me.
With kids.
I have a dog that's begging to go outside, but that's about it.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, I could talk about that for a long time, but the short of it is you set what you're worth. How about that?
Yeah.
And charge what people will pay you. Think about the client too. I mean, if you're gonna work for some client that's like this nonprofit in town, they're not gonna pay you $10,000 for a logo.
Right.
If you're looking at like Coca-Cola and they're gonna pay you for a logo, yeah, charge them $10,000.
Or more.
Yeah, more for sure. I mean, if you think about it, logos are the identity of the company, man. Look at
That's
Nike.
Right.
That lady got paid $50 for that logo.
The swoosh?
Yep.
Oh wow.
And well, it doesn't end there. She got paid $50 to do it, but then she later was paid an undisclosed amount by Coke. Or no, wrong company. by Nike. So hopefully
the undisclosed amount of don't take us to court for just.
No, I think they probably took off and paid her due amount.
Yeah. Good for them. Well, thank you. This has been great. Yeah. We'll definitely have to have you back on. We can talk about all kinds of creative stuff or not so creative stuff, even though the podcast is called Creative Liberty. But yeah. You hit all my, I had one last question.
Yeah.
Do you have a worst piece of art that you've ever made that you've hung on to? I've got a painting in the garage that I've got that I'm like, this is garbage. And you mentioned a little bit about how when you've made a bad design, but or maybe it's something early on in your career or something just like that. What's that worst thing you've made?
I'll say this. I'm a purger. I don't like crap laying around. So there's been several purges of artwork in my life. Uh-huh. I always take photos of stuff before I get rid of it.
Okay.
To remember that I did it, but off the top of my head, no, I can't remember anything that I hated. I'm sure I'd have to go through the files and look, but I'm sure, I could find some.
Yeah.
I mean, graphic design probably is more at the top of my head. There's definitely like designs that I looked back and I was like, man, I did not know a whole lot at the beginning.
Sure, I think that just attests to growth.
Yeah, absolutely. But that they're things I wouldn't let see the light of day now. So yeah, but I mean, they're files, so right. It's nothing that's like, well, I'm going to delete it. Don't keep it. But
yeah. Cool.
Nothing off the top of my head. Sorry, bud.
Nope, you're good. You're good. Hey, thank you so much for coming on and just kind of sharing your story and your creative journey and sharing with my audience of probably 12 people what you do and your passions about design and illustration. So thank you.
Well, when your podcast takes off, I will be number 2? What's your second?
No, you're number 6 or 7, I believe.
Okay.
You should go listen to my podcast.
I'm in the top 10. I know you.
You're in the top 10.
I know that you talked to Nathan. I just didn't know.
Yep. So I've had Josh and Nathan on. A friend of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Columbus Cody from Nashville, Tennessee. Shanna's been on because she's the only person that can sit here with me in person. There's a mystery guest. Go check that person out. And so
I'll have to do it now.
I'll do it tomorrow. And you, and I may be forgetting one other person, but I think that's it.
Well, top 10. Either way,
you're in the top 10.
Look back when you're millions deep and you're like, oh, Patrick, he was in the top 10.
In the top 20, in the top 30. I like that. I mean, I'm okay with having reoccurring guests. So.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Cool. Well, thanks. All right. That'll wrap it up for this episode of the Creative Liberty Podcast. I want to thank Patrick Richardson again for coming on, and hit him up, follow him on Instagram, check out his website. If you're looking for a logo, he's your guy. He does some amazing work, especially the stuff for the parks was awesome, and the stuff that he's just toying around with now on his free time, on his COVID-19 time. It's really cool. So check him out. And thanks again for listening to all you out there. We hope you're well, and we'll see you on the next podcast.